Here's another YouTube video of Phillie Phanatic Dudes. It is episode 3, and we would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and give us a like on the video. Thank you. Looking back on this Eagles vs. Cowboys rivalry game, the Eagles possessed the ball for 18 more seconds than the Cowboys, which was the ultimate reason why the Eagles won the game. Dak Prescott got sacked with under 24 seconds to go in the game by Josh Sweat. They had one more play after that sack, and he threw it to his wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, and they came up 4 yards short. So if they would have just had a little more time, even amount of possession as the Eagles, they might have had a shot to win that game. So something that I didn't like about the Eagles was their defense. I thought that there were several times where they were playing really soft, and they felt like they had too good of a cushion, too good of a lead. And I think in those situations, you can't take for granted your lead. You have to play like the score is even. You can't just act like, oh, we're up by 10, so we can play soft coverage. Because if you play like that, your offense isn't always going to bail you out. It's not like you don't have the best offense. You don't have the best of the best. So you have a good offense, but it's not quite there. It's not quite clicking all the way. As you can see, that Hurts this year, he's had more turnovers this year. He hasn't looked as crisp as last year. He's had improvement throwing the ball this year, but he hasn't taken it quite to that level where I see him at. I mean, I'm happy with his play, but there's just a little part of me that just thinks that there needs to be a little bit of improvement in Hurts' ability of keeping the ball with his own offense, and the Eagles' defense needs to clean it up going forward. I'm really looking forward to the Eagles' first Chiefs game next Monday. I'm really excited for just the matchups, the Super Bowl rematch. I think that last year, the referee they changed the game for the Eagles. That one holding call, that was a little bit of a weak call, but you know what? With the Eagles, I'm just happy that they didn't dwell on that. They owned up to it and said, you know what? We didn't play good enough. And I think this time around, when they play the Chiefs, they're going to show that they're the better team. They have more grit. They're more deserving of a team to win a Super Bowl. And I think just overall, I think Hurts is just a quarterback that you're happy that you have. You're fortunate, and I'm just ready to see the Eagles wide receivers, running backs, all just play a part in the Eagles offense. And I'm hoping that overall the offense plays well, the defense cleans it up, and I'm looking forward to the rematch of Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. So overall with this Sixers team, I'm just really happy with this 8-1 start. I'm just excited with this new brand of basketball. I mean, I think everybody just has to play better now because you don't have Harden, who he had a lot of good games and a lot of costly games for the Sixers when he played with them. So I think moving on now, I think there's a better future for this Sixers team. I mean, you know that Embiid and Maxey, they always have a great attitude and they play well, and I think Maxey's he's becoming an all-star. I think that just his shooting ability and just his speed, it plays a factor into how the Sixers play. So I think now with the injury of Kelly Oubre, I think he's supposed to get reevaluated next week and take it from there. I think it's going to take a lot of physical therapy, and he's going to work through it. Here is Jeb.
It's a brand new era for Sixers fans. I mean, it's really been different. You know, the Nick Nurse has brought in this different type of energy, this different type of feeling. You know, it's too early to say that this team is different. You know, other Sixers teams have had the same type of feeling, but I think this is there's a little bit of a difference to this. I feel like there's no drama on this team. There's no selfishness on this team. I think it's just people that just want to play basketball. Tyrese Maxey in year 3, really, his development is just a fun one to watch. He just continues to get better and better and better, and I think just he continues to become one of the better ones in the game, and he's just going to continue to grow. And the difference between Nick Nurse and Doc Rivers, it's uncanny what they've done. It's unbelievable. Doc Rivers, I think, was not a good coach. I think he's had some unbelievably talented teams as a coach, and he has faltered almost every time. And I just don't think Doc Rivers is a good coach. Brett Brown was not the best coach. I think the Sixers have had other issues as well. The Ben Simmons drama, the Butler drama, obviously the James Harden drama. And this team does not miss James Harden. James Harden is a player that I don't think anybody on that team is missing right now. And I respect James Harden for what he is. He's a very talented player, probably going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But at the end of the day, James Harden was a selfish player at times. He's a guy that you never knew what version you were going to get. Some days you were going to get the MVP caliber Harden, and some days you were going to get the James Harden that could barely start on a court. He was just too inconsistent. On a team that's trying to find consistency, they needed something better. And I think they got a lot out of the trade with Harden, and I think right now, after beating the Celtics, it's just proving that this team, there's a different type of feel around them. This was a test game. This was a game to see just how much they have. Because the first few games were great, but what kind of tests? What can they really do now? And for them to go in there and to beat Boston, a team that's really had their number over the last few years, it's impressive. And it just showcases what this team's able to do and what they're able to accomplish. And it's fun. It is very, very fun to watch. It's fun to watch because the last few years, it felt like a chore at times to watch Sixers basketball. It felt like I was there to watch just because, I'm a fan and I'm going to watch them. But this is just different. There's a different feeling around this team. There's a different energy. It feels like it's just a group of guys who are all in for one common goal right now. And considering that this might be the last year of Joel and Philly, we don't know. They need this. Joel Embiid is in the prime of his career. He is one of the greatest basketball players in the sport right now. They cannot waste him. It was the same thing we were saying with Bryce Harper a few years ago. The Phillies could not waste Bryce Harper's prime. It's the same thing with the Sixers. The Sixers cannot waste prime Joel Embiid. They need to get to the final destination. They need him to get further in the playoffs because his career will always be tainted by that. If he never gets past the second round, his career will always be tainted by that. No matter how many MVPs he wins, it's going to be just that way every time. And it's a shame, but I think this type of Sixers team, there's a different feeling, there's a different vibe. It's early, but I think everyone's starting to see the product that Nick Nurse puts out. He is a very, very good coach. That doesn't mean he's going to work complete magic and this team's automatically going to get past the second round in the playoffs. But what it does mean is I think this team has a better feeling of what their role is. I think everybody on this team has a feeling of what their job is every game. I think with Doc, that wasn't always the case, and I think he undervalued certain players. I think Paul Reed is getting more value, and I think that is showing. I think Nick Nurse trusts his players, and the players trust him back. I didn't feel that way with Doc 100%. I felt like the players didn't despise playing for Doc, but I didn't think they loved him either. I think there was a mixed relationship at times with them, and I think Nick Nurse is just a different type of coach that's going to bring a different type of team. And no matter how it pans out, I think this is the type of coaching and the type of team we've been clamoring for a while now, and it just has never felt quite right. Even when it has been right, it just never felt quite right, and I think this team is starting to feel right, and it's really a beauty to watch because the last few years, they've been brutal with some of the drama around the team, and right now, I don't think there's drama, and I think it's just go out and play basketball and win some games, and that is all you can ask for as a Philly fan, especially after the tough Phillies lost in the LCS. It is just fun to watch a team right now that when I had low expectations, they're kind of making me almost want to believe again. And that's something I did not think was going to happen. So it's really, really impressive.